Alrighty guys and girls, here we go. Today's lesson, I'm going to show you how to make a chicken and sausage gumbo the Louisiana way. Now in Louisiana there's a whole lot of variances of doing this, but I'm going to show you my quick take on this. Maybe you could take away from it, maybe you can add to it and make it a little better. So first what we're going to do, I've already cut up my chicken. It's one whole chicken, and then there's some gizzards. We have some dried shrimp, sausage. Now we have the Holy Trinity, which in Louisiana, that's the celery, bell pepper, onion, garlic, all the good stuff. And then we're going to top it off with green onions. Now, I'll give you a quick lesson on gumbo. Gumbo is an African dish that back in, the 1700s, 1800s in Louisiana was originally made with okra. Now, the okra was the thickening agent, and so the slaves didn't know anything about the flour until the French introduced the flour to them. So in turn, the slaves learned to use the flour, and thus you created a roux. So for today's purpose, we're going to do the roux, which is the way I learned. Personally, I don't like okra gumbo, but again, everybody has their own way of doing it. So with that being said, now we're going to come over here and start on our roux. Now in the pan right here, I have 1 cup of oil, and I'm going to use 1 cup of flour to make the roux. I don't measure, but for the purpose of this video, I went ahead and measured it. So I already have the cup of oil in here heating up. Now, it's time I can add, it's on a medium-high heat. Once I get it, to go in a little bit, then I'm going to reduce it down to medium, let it cook. It'll take roughly about 20 minutes doing it this way. So let's go ahead and add our 1 cup of flour, introduce it in. And now what we want to do is whisk it all together. Get our whisk, make it nice and brown. There we go. As you can see. Looks very, very good. Now you want to make it to where all the flour is evenly dispersed. Now that we have a good bubble on it, what I can actually do, lower the heat to medium because we don't want to burn the roux. When you burn the roux, it's going to become very, very bitter tasting. It have black flakes in it, and when you serve gumbo or eat gumbo, having black flakes in it is never appealing. So let's go ahead and stir this, and what we want to do is make sure we get it to a nice dark consistency of a chocolate color. If you don't understand what that means, I tell you, go get a Hershey bar, put it next to the stove, and that's the color your roux should look when it's done. So I'm going to continue stirring this roux, and I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Alright guys, we're back. As you can see, we have a really beautiful dark brown color, similar to that of a Hershey bar. Now when we get this part, you want to add cold water. Always do cold water so the roux won't seize up on you and clot. So now let's add our cold water. Let's put it in here. Be careful as you mix it. There we go. Looking good and fabulous. Now I'm also going to teach you a little trick. When you're making your roux and you add it to the water, it's going to lighten up some. So don't worry about it. If your roux is a little too light, there's something we like to, as a lot of chefs like to do, is add this right here. Kitchen bouquet. It's actually a browning seasoning. Let's see if I can get it to focus in. Now what that kitchen bouquet will allow you to do is, if your gravies are too light, it'll help darken it. So now that we did that, we added our cold water to the roux. As you can see, it didn't seize up on me. There is nothing at all that would suggest that. At this point, I like to add my gizzards too, because gizzards take a lot longer to cook. So at this point, I'm going to add the gizzards to it and then the chicken later. Now the reason you don't want to add your chicken at this point is because chicken cooks very, very quick. You're talking about within a matter of 45 minutes to an hour. So you want to let this all come together, let your roux cook for about 45 minutes, and that way it can all get marinated in there, seasoned properly, and the gizzards as well. Now the original way to do a chicken and sausage gumbo in Louisiana was with a hen. Now a hen is a lot tougher, so it's going to take a longer to cook on it. So at this point, me just using a fryer, it's not going to take as long. So while this is cooking, it's coming together, we're going to go ahead and start on the rest of our preparation. Be right back. Welcome back. Now let's check our roux. One of the hardest things to do consistently when make gumbo is to make sure that you have the right amount of roux to the right amount of water. As you can see here, this is the way it looks. If it looks like just clear dirty water, you must have more roux. How I check it is hold it up, turn it upside down. If you can see through it, you need to add more. As you can see, you can't see through it, so it's just about the perfect consistency. Now, it's been going approximately 40 minutes. Over here with our chicken, what you want to do is add the bigger pieces first. What I did is I already butchered the chicken, cut it all up, and I put my Cajun seasoning. Since if you don't want to go out and spend all the money on making your own, I suggest you get something like Tony Chachere's or Zatarain's. I prefer Zatarain's, it's not as salty. You can use Slap Your Mama. But in addition to that, mix it with garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, cayenne pepper, or seasoned pepper. And you mix it all together in a bowl, cut it up, season it in here with your chicken. So what we want to do is put our big pieces in first. Let's come here. Let's add it. There. And you want to keep the bones in there because the bones are going to give it the good stock flavor. I've had gumbos where people try to use all chicken breasts. Problem with that, chicken breast is chicken breast. It's already dry when you eat it. So if you don't have any bones, to make the stock come out of it, because the bones is what gives it the flavor. All the, with all the bones. Now another thing, some people say, well, Joey, why didn't you brown your chicken first? My opinion, browning your chicken, what that tends to do is, yes, it'll keep the chicken with flavor. Problem is, you won't get all the bone marrow versus the chicken boiling. So therefore, I don't brown it. Now, if I'm making a stewed chicken, of course I brown the meat, but not on a gumbo because it has to boil. So in my opinion, when you boil it without browning it, it gives it a much better flavor. So we're going to add our chicken in right here. As you can see, the gumbo has a really pretty dark brown color. And also be careful not to add too much water to your pot because you don't want it to spill over, just like when you're frying a turkey, put too much oil, spills over the top. So you don't want to do that. So I like to also cook in stages, meaning I did my roux for about 40 minutes to 45 minutes. Now I'm going to let this chicken go for about a good 20 minutes. Then I'll add over here all my veggies. Now, the reason I do this so you don't outcook your flavors. Some people say, well, my grandmother, she makes her roux, she seasons the roux, and she puts the celery, onion, bell pepper, garlic. That's fine. A lot of people do that. I don't like doing it because you outcook your flavors. Again, I'm a big advocate of flavors. And when you outcook a flavor, then you basically have done nothing. So if you add all your veggies in at the beginning of the gumbo, all your veggie tastes are going to burn out of your gumbo. And when you season your chicken very well, what happens is 9 times out of 10 you don't even have to season your gumbo because your chicken is already seasoned. So we're going to let that go. Now we're going to cook this for about 20 minutes. We'll come back and we'll add our veggies. All right, it's been 20 minutes. Excuse me. Now it's time to add our green veggies. Like I said, look how pretty the gumbo is looking. Let the chicken and the roux all come together. It's coming together beautifully. A nice, pretty color. So now at this point, time to add my trinity. This is 1 small onion, nicely. Don't have to be too finely chopped, but chop it fine. I can't stand big chunks of, veggies in my gumbo. Now, this right here is the bell pepper. 1 small bell pepper. So remember, that was 1 small onion, 1 small bell pepper, 1 celery, and over here, I used about 4 small garlic cloves. Now, one of the things to know about garlic is the smaller the garlic, the more potent the garlic. I've said that before in other videos, so be careful. The more finely you chop garlic, the more strong the garlic becomes. So if you have a bigger chop, not going to be as strong. So in this case, I just use 4 garlics for this size pot. Of course, everything gets doubled and tripled when you make bigger pots. But for this pot, that's all we needed was 4. Now we're going to let this all come together for about another 20 minutes. It's almost done, and at the very end is where you want to add your sausage. Now, why Do you add your sausage at the end? It's because it's already been cooked. In fact, you can eat this, you know, just as it is. So you don't want, again, outcook your flavors. It's step by step. So gumbo is patience. So don't get too impatient and try to throw everything together at once, or you're going to have a gumbo that doesn't have a whole lot of flavor at the end because you let it cook for 2.5, 3 hours with everything, you know, boiling together, and now it tastes flat. You got to keep adding seasoning. If you notice, I have not checked for seasons yet because I seasoned the chicken really, really heavily and thoroughly that I need all these flavors to come together first before I try it. So in this case, you don't want to start seasoning, taste it, because now you can have a tendency to over-season your gumbo. You know, either be too salty, too peppery. Again, my take on it, usually when I say when people cook with too much pepper, it's to cover up for the fact they can't cook. So they just add a whole lot of pepper to it. Don't be one of those people. Let all this cook together. We'll come right back and then we'll finish this all off. Now it's time to finish this gumbo up. Now it's been cooking another 20 minutes. Here we go, time to add the smoked sausage. And then we'll let the sausage cook for about 10 minutes. Then we'll do a quick taste test to see if we had to add anything. But at this point, I really don't believe we will. If anything, because it's a lot of fluid, you may have to add salt. But again, because I seasoned the meats very well before I put it in the pot and I didn't brown it, and it didn't stick to the meat, it actually got a chance to flavor the roux. Because if I would have seasoned the meat, it would have stuck to the meat without flavoring the roux. So we'll let that cook for about, I'll say about 10-15 minutes. We'll come back, do a quick taste test, and then we'll put it all together. Final stage of the gumbo. Let's check for seasoning. The sausage has been gone approximately 20 minutes. So now it's time to taste. See if we have to adjust it by adding any salts, peppers. Let's take a quick taste. That is outstanding. Let me just do a pinch of salt here. And that should do it. Let it cook for about 5 more minutes. I'm going to plate it, show you how to plate this gumbo up, and the video will be done. Final step before you start plating your gumbo. Turn it off, let it rest for about 15 minutes, and look at all the oil that floated to the top. I've drained or skimmed some of it. Now let's skim some of the rest, because nothing worse than serving an oily gumbo. So just make sure you skim it like that. As you can see how the oil is coming up. And put it over here and transfer it. Let me finish skimming this thing, guys, and I'll come right back with the plate. And gumbo is all finished. I guarantee you, if you guys follow the recipe just like I did it, you'll have some of the best tasting gumbo you've ever had in your life. So if you like it, try it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm always going to be posting videos on how to do different authentic food. This is some of the best tasting gumbo you will ever have. Peace.